Hey everyone, it's Michael Sotos, Uncanny Strength and Conditioning Online Superhero Training. Today's video is about warming up. And yes, I believe all superheroes should do some kind of warm up before they do physical activity or a workout. So some of the benefits to doing a warm up, it helps increase blood flow to muscles and other tissues. It helps increase range of motion. It enhances balance, reaction time, coordination, and body awareness. And it also helps prepare the cardiovascular system for exercise so you don't see a big jump in blood pressure because you're not going right into high intensity. Although in an emergency, you might have to, but if we have the time, we should make sure we do some kind of warm up because those benefits are good for everyone. So anyways, I make sure that everyone has a dynamic warm-up as part of their workout. And I like to rock and roll. I've said this before. I'm really into getting on the ground and doing some rocking and rolling. So definitely take inspiration from Original Strength. So look into that. They have lots of rolling, lots of rocking exercises. And DNS is another inspiration. So these movements, dynamic neuromuscular stabilization. So a lot of these movements look like the stuff we did when we were a baby and we were on the ground, but they're finding out that there's a lot of power to these movements. And I didn't mention another benefit is just waking up the nervous system. And I think these kind of drills do a really good job of that to prepare you for the workout. So I also grabbed some things from yoga. I also have inspiration from FMS, corrective exercises that maybe looking at someone's functional movement screen, you see things that need to be worked on and you can incorporate some corrective exercise. So I have a certain way I like to set up a workout. It's not the only way. It's not the one true way. There's many ways, but I found it works pretty nicely for the workouts I've designed. The first thing, it's totally fine if you want to jump on a piece of cardio equipment or do some kind of movements, shoot baskets, play catch with someone. It's nice to get the blood flowing and just get moving around. And it could be fun if you're playing catch or shooting hoops or something like that. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes of that, whatever you want to do. And then moving into the movement drills, the dynamic stretching, the corrective exercise. And I like to set them up a certain way. I like to have the warm-up flow. That's really important to me. I like to be as efficient as possible because I don't want us wasting time. We have a lot of things to do. So I like to have people start getting down on the floor on their back or side, doing whatever specific drills, that I come up with that will be beneficial to them. There's certain ones that I really like to use. Then from that back or side position, moving to hands or knees or on the stomach, and then from there going up to standing and movement drills. And that flows really nicely to set it up that way. Usually have people do 5 to 10 reps of each drill, each warm-up drill. And it could be, usually I have people do multiple sets. You can do, 1 to 2 if you're doing it as a warm up to your workout, or you could do 3 if it's just, you're doing this on your own and it's just a day where maybe you just feel really tight and you're kind of sluggish, and it definitely is beneficial to do every day. It's not going to hurt you to do every day these kind of movement drills and dynamic stretching. And then I like to, if you're going to do multiple sets, I like to make sure that each section is done as like a mini circuit, or depending on how many exercises, or a superset if there's only 2. But you do 1 set of each, then you go and do the second set of each. Let's say you're on your back, you're doing until you get whatever, let's say you're doing 3 sets, you get all 3 sets, and then you move to your hands and knees, the next position. And then if you're doing multiple sets there, then you do 1 set of each of those, and then 2 sets of each of those, and then moving to the next section after you finish all the sets. And that's it's just efficient that way. They're all done from a similar position and it just flows. And I love it to flow and make it easy that way. So in the blog, if you haven't checked my recent blog posts about warming up, I put in there just a sample warm up. It's a real general one. It's one I use quite often. But there can be so many variations to it. But I wanted to go through it. I'm gonna do a quick demonstration of it. Now, if you were to sign up for Superhero Training, of course, we would do an assessment and we would have some specific drills for each person. It's gonna be a little bit different for each person, but there's definitely differences for some people, and then there's some general things that we all can probably work on. So I'll go through it real quick. Just remember too, I love combining different areas of training for multiple purposes. So let's say you could put your agility training into warm-up. It can work nicely as a warm-up, and then you're getting your agility training, you're getting warmed up, and it's a great way to kind of save time but be training multiple areas. And just remember, if it's at the beginning of the warm-up, you want to do agility drills that are more low level, and then if it's later in the warm-up, you could do higher intensity agility drills. But agility fits nicely into a warm-up. All right, I'm going to do the demo now, and like I said, it's all written out on my blog. All right, so this is one of the general warm-up routines that I like to use a lot. Like I said, it is not specific for one person, but I think a lot of people can get some benefit from this one. And it's all listed out in my blog post on warming up. All right, so I'll just go through. You start on your back. You're doing overhead arm presses. Knees are bent, feet flat on the floor. And then just like I was doing an overhead press, I reach above. The gravity pulls my arms towards the floor. And then notice my elbows, when I come back, my elbows are kind of in front of my ribs, elevated above the mat. So I'm here, and then here. And then you want to coordinate the breath, so you breathe out as you reach over. That way I'm keeping my ribs down and I'm not arching through my back. I'll get more of a lat stretch. 5 to 10 reps of each of these drills, unless otherwise specified. Some of them are done on time. Not many. Most of them are reps, but so I'll just be here. From there, flow right into hip raises. So double leg hip raises, and I want to make sure that I'm activating my glutes. And then from there, going into single leg, doing 5 to 10 reps, each of these. Make sure you do an even number on each side. And then after you do those two, you go to seated variations. These are really good for the hips and the core. So I start with just my legs straight out in front of me, and I'm just trying to stay upright posture. I have to kind of activate my core here to do it. And then from there, I bring a leg in, like I was going to do a pistol squat. So if you wanted to, you could go up into a pistol squat and then come back down. Otherwise, then you can rotate out into kind of like a hurdler stretch. You go about 5 to 10 seconds in each of these positions. And then I swing this leg around and get some rotation of the hips, internal, external rotation. Swing it back around, straighten out, and then do it on the other side. I bring the leg in, drop it down. I would spend a little more time in each of these positions. And then I swing the leg around, and I can swing it back. Bring it in. That's just the seated variations. It's just a good hip and core one. Then from there, go into hands and knees position. Do cat camel. I have everyone do cat camel. It's such a good one, I think, for the spine and the back. So I want to breathe out as I arch up, and breathe in as I arch down. I'm not trying to go to my end range of motion. It should feel comfortable. I'm just getting movement into my spine and trying to coordinate my breath with it. I'm not trying to go as far as I can go. So it should feel good. Then from there, we go neck nods. I kind of go back to neutral position, and I just go with the head up and down. And just like on the cat camel, I'm not going to end range of motion. I'm not forcing anything. It feels good. I'm just moving up and down where it feels comfortable. And if I get farther into it, that's awesome. I probably will. If you do this on a more regular basis, you're gonna get more and more flexible and you'll be able to move better. Then they go neck rotations, where I look side to side, like I was just gonna look over my shoulder. Same thing, I just go nice and easy, go as far as I feel comfortable. Then from there, go on my stomach and put my hands down, put my forehead on my hands, and this is called crocodile breathing. It's a great way to work on some diaphragmatic breathing. Do 5 to 10 breaths. You get some resistance against your belly, so you can feel that you're expanding your belly, but ultimately you should be expanding your whole abdomen and low back and the sides. Your oblique area should all be expanding in a 360-degree direction. So it should be, we're not doing it correctly if we're just breathing strictly into the front, into our belly. You should feel that expansion 360 degrees. So breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. Do like a 4. I usually do like a 4-second inhale, 6-second exhale. Like I said, 5 to 10 breaths from there. Then I come up like this, and this is Sphinx position. So it looks like the Sphinx. I like to do some neck knots from here and some neck rotations. And then also some elbow push-ups, which is similar to a scapular push-up. And then from there, coming back up to hands and knees, doing some rock backs. So very similar to like doing a squat motion. As far as the feet goes, I like to kind of be up on my toes a little bit more, like I'm doing a squat. And then you feel a little bit more of a stretch along the foot and all the way into the back of the calves. You can play around with it. You could also do variations where you put the tops of your feet against the mat, and then you feel a little more of a stretch on the front of the lower legs. From there, go to a push-up position, and then I rock back into a downward dog. These are called yoga push-ups. Do my reps there. Then I hold the top of the downward dog, and I rock my heels towards the floor. Nice and gentle. I don't want to overdo it. So I get a rocking calf stretch. You can't overdo it, so you just got to be careful with that. Make sure you stay comfortable with it. And then move to standing up from there. The standing up ones, let's see if we can get the video. Get that a little more up. And from there, just doing classic like bodyweight squats. Since I'm not holding any resistance or any weight, and I don't have weight up on my shoulders, I like to go as deep as I comfortably can go. I like to go into a real deep squat. Maybe I do 5 to 10 reps on the last one. I hold a deep squat position for a while, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And then I also go to the pull-up bar. So bear with me as I move this around. And I like to do some active hangs. So maybe 10 to 20 seconds, even up to 30 seconds. And what it means by active, it means that I keep my shoulders active. I'm not letting my shoulders relax and just get pulled up towards my ears. I'm actually pulling my shoulders down and activating my lats. And then you can also add a little bit of swinging if you want. You can swing forward to back, or you can play with swinging side to side a little bit. Get creative with it. And then the last part of the warm-up is crawling. And just doing some different crawling variations. Hands and knees. You crawl this way. You can go hands and feet. So crawling that way. My studio is kind of small, but it's kind of open. So I just crawl from one end of the room to the other. Maybe once or twice. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but crawling, there's a lot of good things we get out of crawling. As I said, you can go on the hands and knees, a little easier, or you want to make it a little bit harder, you go hands and feet. Remember, you want that contralateral motion, so opposite hand and leg or foot moves. And then you can go into inverted Just be careful that you don't have any shoulder problems, because you can definitely overstretch in your shoulder or your chest. So be careful with that. But same thing, contralateral, I can go forward and my opposite hand and leg move, and I can also go backwards. Usually whichever is leading, whether if it's the hand that leads, that moves first. If it's the foot, if I'm going this way, the foot steps first and then the hand moves. Can be kind of simultaneous. And then there's all the ones where you're low on the floor. You can just do a couple variations. It doesn't have to be all of them. There's this one where it's a shoulder crawl. So I'm on my back. I'm kind of using my shoulder blades and my opposite foot to kind of push. So sometimes it's hard to get that going. You just got to get it going, and then you make sure that you're getting it coordinated, that coordinated movement, contralateral pattern. And then there's also getting all the way on your belly. So I kind of pull with my forearm, and then I get a push with my leg, so the opposite leg. And you can go backwards or forwards with any of them, or sideways. Play around with the different movements. It's not always front to back. And then also on your back, this is from one that you would recognize from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you do that, it's called shrimping. So I have one knee bent, one leg straight. With that knee bent, I push with that leg. I come to my side. I put my arms in front of me, and then I bring that knee up and through and turn to my back. And I'm here, which is like the guard position in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but you can work your way across the floor like that. There's a lot of different variations. It will get your heart rate up. It's good movement. You know, you could consider it some agility training. And I like to get people, like I said, I like to get people rocking and rolling and crawling as much as I can. I'll leave you with this. I work with people of all different ages, and I've noticed working with older people, there can be some difficulty for people getting just up and down from the ground. So I really encourage you to not lose that ability. It is very important to be able to get up and down from the ground. Spend some time on the ground. You know, these warm-up drills get you down there, but get comfortable rocking and rolling like you used to do all the time when you were a kid. We used to spend a lot of time on the ground. We don't do it as often when we get older, and I've come across people who lost this ability to even get up and down from the ground. And, you know, that really points to a lack in flexibility and a lack of strength. So we don't want to get there. So if you need excuses to get down to the ground, if you're older, play with your grandkids. If you have kids, play with your kids. Get down on the ground, crawl around, roll around. You know, if you have a pet, there's another. Get down on the ground and play with your pet. But just don't lose that ability. I've noticed the people who have a hard time moving around, they often have that difficult time getting up and down from the ground. And here's a great reason to get down on the ground. Just get down on the ground and do these exercises that I gave you. So, all right, hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. As always, check out uncannystrength.com and sign up for online training if you think you're ready to do some superhero training. And just remember, superhero training, I think there's a lot of cool things that I've added to it. You know, getting your own superhero character drawn up on the higher packages and things like that. You know, I talk about superheroes, but ultimately, you know, what it comes down to, it's having a higher purpose to your training. It's having the purpose that not only are you getting yourself physically fit and healthy, but that's going to allow you to help other people. So that was my whole idea behind superhero training. So go to the website if you want to sign up. Message me if you have any questions. As always, thank you so much for checking out my videos, and I'll have more soon.